Hello, everybody. My name is Paweł Kusiak. I represent here the Polish Society for the Studies of Religions. I would like to invite you for the interview talk, which is a part of promotion of the, in my opinion, but I think not only in my opinion, most important religious studies event in the world. I mean, Kraków AIHR World Congress 2025. And I would like to welcome my great guest, Professor Tim Jensen. He is a renowned scholar in the field of the study of religions. He works at the University of Southern Denmark, where he serves as a professor. His research interests cover a wide range of topics, including religious education, study of religions, and religion in media and public discourses. Professor Jensen is particularly known for his advocacy for a non-confessional comparative approach to religious education. He has been actively involved in both national and international scholarly organizations, including the International Association for the History of Religions, AIHR, where he serves as a president. Tim, great to have you here. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for your interest in and dedication to the IHR. Now, you are also representing, of course, the Polish Society for the Study of Religions, which is sort of a member society to the IHR.
Yeah.
And it is sort of extremely crucial to have that association in place. It has been there since 1958, I think it was, and with a journal linked to it since the year before, actually, 1957. And the Polish Society has a track record of arranging, hosting conferences for the IHR. For instance, I think there was one in 1989 in Warsaw, right?
Yeah.
And you also hosted a very important IAHR conference in 2000, which served as a framework for the establishment of the European Association for the Study of Religions. And now we have the Polish Society for the Study of Religions, together with the local hosts in Kraków, the Jagiellonian University, with its Institute for the Study of Religion, the preeminent one in Poland, I dare say. And you have lots of people there in place who have been working now for years to prepare this World Congress. So I want to extend thanks to the Polish Society for all that you have already done for the IHR, for what you're doing now, and also to the local host, to the scholars of religion in Krakow and in Poland in general. Because when we are sort of having these World Congresses and we move them around the world and other conferences as well, regional or just other IHR conferences, one of the aims is to sort of help boost the local study of religions. So we really hope that this World Congress, the 23rd in the history of the IHR, will also contribute to furthering the scientific academic study of religions in Poland. And when that is said, please extend thanks to the president and to the people in Krakow if they do not hear me now, so to speak. We are very grateful for all the service done to the IHR. So that's something I really want to get in place. It's a lot of work, and the IHR is extremely grateful for the Polish colleagues to take upon themselves this burden.
Thank you for these words. Thank you for your kindness. And I think we should start from the question about AIHR World Congress. Why this event is so important for world religious studies?
Well, a Congress of the IHR, a World Congress, takes place only sort of each and every 5th year. It's quinquennial World Congresses. And they have been in the past sort of what has been called milestones or landmarks in the history of the IHR for various reasons. But they have also been landmarks and milestones in the development of the international academic scientific study of religion. You have been able to sort of watch developments around the world within the academic study of religions by way of listening to the papers, by way of looking at the list of keynotes, by way of looking at the titles and the themes. And there are very, very important sort of IHR World Congresses in the past. I cannot mention them all and all their importances, but I just want to sort of recommend to viewers, to the audiences, to readers, to go and take a look in this book that I co-edited with a former treasurer and secretary general of the IHR and very good friend of mine, Professor Armin Goetz. And it was published in 2015 at the occasion of the 60th anniversary of this journal, Newman, which is the flagship journal of the IHR, and it has been so since, 70 years ago, right? And in this, you will find contributions by major players within the IHR and within the international study of religions. And you will find articles, several articles, listing, discussing all of the previous World Congresses of the IHR, especially those that have taken place around the world in various locations since 1950. 1950 was the year when, at the occasion of a World Congress taking place in Amsterdam, the IHR, as more than just a conference organization where that took place, it was established with the famous Gerardus van der Leeuw as its first president, unfortunately only for 1 year, but then Petazzoni, the Italian, took over until he passed away at the end of the 50s. And ever since then, we have had a Congress each and every 5 years. There are exceptions. We had a World Congress also in Tokyo, a very famous one, also a milestone in 1958. And then in 2020, due to COVID, we had to cancel a planned World Congress in New Zealand, in Otago. So now we are heading for another milestone, I'm sure, Kraków 2025. And the title, the overall theme is Out of Europe.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to that. But first, I really have to stress something. I have to stress that coming to Krakow in 2025, of course, is to come there for the academic events, for discussing each and everything that could be related to the overall theme and the sub-themes. It is to listen to more than 800 papers now accepted and panels, to meet with some 1,000 participants from all over the world. Not just from Poland, not just from Europe, not just from Western Europe, not just from Central or Eastern Europe, whatever you call it, Southern Europe, Northern Europe, but from all over the world. And young scholars, they will be able to meet with senior scholars. They will meet scholars they have only sort of met via their famous books and productions. They can meet them over a cup of coffee in the corridor. They can meet them in a bar over a beer. Yeah. They can meet them at the social events, the reception, the conference, or the Congress dinner. And all of this is important. It's important to go there for the academic program. The academic program, of course, is the most important thing. But it's also important to remember that a World Congress is a social event where people come together, meet famous scholars, infamous scholars, become friends with people they never met before. And now we had the COVID and we got used to all these online conferences. And I know more and more people also, due to the climate crisis, prefer not to travel by flight and prefer to have online conferences. I see the points. I see the reasons. But I'm very much in favor of in-person conferences. And I'm so happy that we are now, after a break of 10 years since we had the last one in Erfurt 2015, finally can meet again, the IHR community, so to speak. And that we will have this opportunity. A lot of important scholarly work consists of networking. And networking can take place online, but it is it is nothing compared to in-person networking. Not just meeting with publishers, but meeting with colleagues within your own field, colleagues who are working from another kind of disciplinary perspective. And then, you can sit out from your hotel and walk to a restaurant, and you are a group of 10 and you don't know them. And before you get to the restaurant, you will have persons working on Islam in Iran, or persons working on something in Southeast Asia, or persons working with something in Southern Africa or in Latin America. And you say, oh, what is this? Is this also going on? And can you look at it from this perspective? And can a big scholar be so nice a person? And can a big scholar be such a human being who can laugh and crack jokes, etc.? So all of this is so important. You get to learn something about your field, about other scholars by way of socializing. And when that is said, I mean, really, there is also a cultural program, but it's going to be a party in Krakow. I've been to Krakow for conferences. I've been there now for meetings preparing this World Congress. It's a beautiful, very sort of manageable city, the old city. You can walk around, you can look at things, and you have the big sort of center square there. You have lots of restaurants, lots of bars, lots of coffee shops. And so you can walk and talk. And everything in that way is in place. It's a wonderful place to go to. I'm looking forward to it once again, to come there. And I just really encourage all the participants to look forward to this with joy. Not just being nervous about their papers. They have to do that fine, but they also have to be happy about being part of this event. And I mean, it's going to be the 100 and what is it? 25? The IHR as a sort of international conference association started in Paris in 1900. So that's 125 years anniversary almost. And then the IHR got established, as I just said, as another kind of association called, at that time in 1950, the IASHR, the International Association for the Study of the History of Religions. And then later on in 55, I think, IHR, the International Association for the History of Religions. So it can celebrate its 75th anniversary. And then you have the European Association that was founded in Krakow in 2000. It can celebrate its 25th anniversary. So we're going to have a lot of partying, a lot of anniversaries to celebrate. And what we are also celebrating is the fact that we are still here. We are still a group of scholars from all over the world who are dedicated not only to studying religion, but also to promoting the study of religion internationally, nationally, to promote establishing networks with other scholars, etc., etc. And it's not something that goes without saying. It's not sort of normal all over the world to have a scientific academic study of religion in place.
Mm.
It is now an international sort of endeavor, but still, it's easier to have some places than others, and I have been in the business, so to speak, of, as I said in a statement when I ran for General Secretary in 2005, of trying to carve out more and more space for the academic scientific study of religion, as you also said, in all corners of all of the world, including the corner that is called Europe, because that is also what has happened in the world. That is that Europe and Western Europe, once the center of the world, is no longer evidently so the center of the world. And the IHR has this kind of globalizing history and global vision of itself. It's going to be truly international, but it takes some work. It doesn't go without work. You have to fight and struggle for the academic study of religion for many reasons: political, educational, cultural, religious. And I think it's a struggle and a fight worthwhile, but I also think that we should from time to time celebrate and come together, those of us who are in that business. So that's why I think Kraków is going to be a wonderful place. And then I will say more about the theme in a little while. But just sort of, it's going to be great.
Yeah, you said a lot of academic study of religion, so I think it's a good moment to ask you about how would you define the core mission of the academic study of religions today in contemporary world?
Well, I think that the core mission, to put it briefly, is to produce scientifically sound or based knowledge about religion in general, the phenomenon of religion, which could be said to be a theoretical object, but also could be said to be sort of the end result of the generalizations you make from studying particular religions or particular religious phenomenon, no matter how you sort of define that, right? And of course, this is one of the big tasks for the study of religion, that is to constantly keep questioning our own theories of religion, our own notions of religion, our own analytical concepts and tools. But I do believe that there is something out there, and I may be sort of in contrary to some of my very good colleagues and friends, I think there is something out there that deserves to be named religion. I think that there are houses out there, buildings out there that are not just banks or other kind of buildings, but also buildings that could be defined as religious buildings or places. I think that there are actions, that there are acts, that there are things done out there that deserves to be called not just actions, not just rituals, but also religious rituals. And I think that no matter how much we can discuss about this is one of our primary tasks within the study of religion. I still think that I would say that this is what we have to deal with, what we can more or less agree on as defining as religion to be studied, and be studied as a human, social, cultural, historical phenomenon, to be studied just like any other human, social, historical phenomenon, by the same kind of methods, with the same kind of criteria for what constitutes something scientific. I think that we have to sort of stick to what has been called a secular approach, in contrast to I would call it confessional or religious. We are not in the business of religious studies of religion. We are not in the business of theology. We are not searching for the truth. We are not there to show our students or the public at large the relevance of one religion or of religion in general. We are not there to work on the truth of one particular religion and to sort of have that truth shine so that people around in the society grasp it and commit themselves to it and continue being Christians or Buddhists or Muslims, etc. We are not in that business. And I think this is one of the very important demarcation lines. We are there to study this, empirically based, but also in terms of methodological, theoretical developments. And this is our primary task. And I think that in that way, we belong solidly within the academic university, sort of within those walls. And I think that when we sort of exit those walls and want to share something with the public at large, it is exactly how to approach what we call religion or religions from a scientific point of view. We have to learn them about the study of religion's approach to religion. Also, if we teach about religion in schools, it's going to be a religion education that is based upon a scientific study of religion. And the pupils are not going to learn from religion. They're going to learn from the academic study of religion about religion, and having all the self-critical questions also included in that. So it's a critical analytical study of whatever we can agree on that can be defined as religion or religion related. And that's our main task. And I really believe also, when it comes to something we'll discuss maybe later, religion education in schools, that yes, we are in the business of deconstructing notions of religion, discourses on religion, whether religious or academic. That's our duty, self-critically deconstruction. We are in the business of also defamiliarizing ourselves with inherited notions of religion or inherited theories of religion. We are there to try to constantly emancipate ourselves from all of those scholars who came before us, but we are also there to learn from them. We are standing on the shoulders of a lot of great scholars, and we have to know that history of the history of religions. That's called the research history or Forschungsgeschichte. All of that we have to do, but we also try to constantly, because we are working as scientists, to get further. And we always have to be prepared for deconstructing what we thought yesterday was what we had figured out, right? Yeah. We have to be open constantly for that. And that is radically different also from the work of sort of religious scholars. It's really different. So we have to, if I try to sort of cut it a little bit shorter, we have to stick to some kind of methodological naturalist approach.
This is my next question.
You can find something about that also, starting back with the philosopher Hume, right? You have to study this phenomenon that is a natural phenomenon, a human phenomenon, with naturalist methods, theories, etc. We could also talk about a methodological agnosticism or atheism. But the minute you say atheism, you have to stress that it's not an ideological atheism, it's a methodical or methodic atheism, right? We have to practice what you could call axiological neutrality. We are not in the game or business of figuring out whether the one religion is valuable or non-valuable or etc., etc. We are not there, right? We are not in the business of also discussing or valuing, estimating the truth claims of the religions. We are constantly putting them in brackets, right? It's not sort of a question about whether Jesus Christ himself was not only killed, but also resurrected, right? Which is something that doesn't exist, in my opinion, in the world that is sort of the world of science. It just doesn't happen.
You can confirm
when you are dead. Yeah, but the question is not that. We are not in that business of dealing with that sort of primarily. We are in the business of dealing with the fact that there are human beings out there who practice some kind of religion, who have beliefs linked to
this
resurrection, right? Linked to this figure. This is what we are studying. We are studying what does that do for them? Why is it good? What's the function of it? What's the benefit? We could even say what's the
consequence?
Yeah, the consequences in society for the individual, whether it has to do with identity construction of the individual, identity construction of social groups. I mean, in the eyes of many scholars of religion today and also in the past, what religion does primarily is to help in terms of identity or social formation. This is crucial. And in many ways, it's social formation, right? And so you say, yes, we are studying gods and we are studying myths, etc., but we are primarily studying human beings, societies, what human beings are doing in order to live a life, what societies sort of are doing in order to stay stable, in order to have people who are not killing each other each and every day, in order to have order. So we are studying all of this, and the human brain. We are studying human groups, collectivities, institutions, etc. And for that reason, the study of religion belongs to, of course, the human sciences, but also the social sciences. And nowadays, you could say even more also some of the natural sciences, thinking about research of the brain, thinking about evolution, etc. Right? So we are sort of working with a lot of other sort of disciplines, and we are multidisciplinary in a way built into us. Some will say that we have no one discipline, that we are not a discipline at all, but we are exactly that kind of discipline that has always taken from all around, from history, from literary studies, from all over the place. But we have one thing that the others don't have. That is that we have a focus on what we discuss, whether it's religion or but something that a group of scholars across the world can agree to study as something we call religion or religions or whatever you want to call it. And I still think that there is a majority of scholars who think that we should not get away with the word or the term religion, that we should not try to invent something else. We have been discussing this term as a critical term, as a scholarly term, etc., for decades. And now we can sort of discuss it further on, but we can also move on and not throw the baby out with the, what do we call it, the bathing water or whatever. So this is what we are doing. And this is sort of what I would like to sort of answer to your question. It could be said in many other ways. I think that one of my favorite ways of putting it is the way that Armin Gertz, my colleague, has put it in this book that I edited with Michael Rothstein, Secular Theories on Religion, that was published in 2000, same year as the European Association was founded. And we also asked the question to all the contributors whether the scholar of religion had a role to play in terms of public debates on religion or public discourses on religion. And in this one, Armin Gertz has written in his contribution, Analytical Theorizing in the Secular Study of Religion. He says, "The secular study of religion," and I quote, "is understood in this paper to mean the non-sectarian, non-religious study of religion. It simply chooses to interpret, understand, and explain religion in non-religious terms. It confines itself to analytical models grounded in a view of the world based on the insights and achievements of the natural sciences. The study of religion, obviously, is not a natural science. It applies methods, theories, and models developed in the human and social sciences, history, sociology, linguistics, psychology, anthropology, ethnography, philosophy. It is further characterized by a comparative interest in all religions throughout human history. But its view of the world is secular and humanistic." I think that's just, it's a simple way of saying it, but I really think that it's a way that most people can understand, and I adhere to it. And I want to sort of, from my perspective, stress the comparative perspective. I think that if we don't have a comparative generalist perspective, if we don't have what used to be called phenomenological sort of analysis, but where we are sort of using all the terms myth and ritual as analytical terms, then we have a problem. And I think this is exactly where we can contribute, together with the historical distance to contemporary problems related to religion. We can also contribute because we have the comparative distance. We can always compare. We are always in a position to add a perspective by way of adding some other religion or some other ritual to the ritual that we are studying, or the rituals we are studying in the specific case. And this is where we have sort of something that is not only different from most theologians, but also different from most other scholars contributing to the study of religions from history, sociology, whatever they are doing. And we have lots of people contributing who are not in a department for the study of religion, who are not calling themselves scholars of religion. We cannot do without them. But what we develop at the departments for the study of religion, I think, is this sort of combination of historical and comparative approaches and perspectives. And I find the comparative one utterly important because this is where we use and develop our analytical tools that can be applied to study in a cross-cultural way whatever kind of religion that we meet. So we will not be surprised when we meet some religion we have not met before, because we can recognize it is not in this and that way identical to this other religion, but we can see the differences and the similarities by way of our historical and comparative, let's call it, competences, skills.
Yeah. Tim, when I introduced you, I mentioned that you are advocate for a non-conventional approach to religious education. Could you say something more about this phenomena? Why this is important, especially in secular societies, and maybe there is only European Western phenomena, or maybe it can be universal from whole the world. What do you think?
First of all, the academic scientific study of religion can be said as we know it today, and as it is sort of promoted within the IHR also, the sort of corporate identity of the IHR. If not invented, it at least beginning primarily at the European universities, some 150 years ago, right? In various places in Europe. But from there, it has spread throughout the world. Maybe not resulting in similar sort of entities at the universities called departments, but it has spread. We have it elsewhere. It's not only in Europe, but it's still heavily influenced by its European heritage. And I think also that it's only fair to say that if something originated or came first in one place and then came to another place, it doesn't mean that it does not belong to that other place. If those people, if those places sort of adopt it, it becomes part of their way of doing the study of religion also. And as we have tried in the IHR, and I have tried personally, namely to carve out more spaces for this kind of study of religions that I have just tried to describe or circumscribe, it cannot be seen as sort of an imperialist move. It's not sort of some kind of neo-colonialism or colonialism. It's true that it has been in the past linked to colonialist endeavors. No doubt about it. Several scholars have written about that. And we have to be very aware of that kind of heritage. It has been linked to efforts to have power, to conquer, to divide, and to sort of classify and rule by way of classifications. Yes. But the study of religion as it developed in Europe was also, honestly, I think, dedicated to serious interests in figuring out something about those other cultures, those other religions that were not European or could not be seen as linked to the European history. And I hope we can come back to this issue, but it's not all about colonialism. It's not all about hegemony. It's not all about imperialism. But it's still true that there is sort of, in a way, more focused study of religion in place in Europe, Western, Central, Eastern, Southern, Northern Europe, than in some other parts of the world, be it in Latin America or in Africa or in Asia. And the same goes for religion education. The same goes for religion education. But here you see big differences again, because if you go to the United States, they don't have anything similar to what we have, for instance, in Denmark, in regard to a non-confessional study of religions-based religion education, due to various cultural historical factors. The American Constitution, the so-called wall of separation, is one thing, but also the fact that Americans up to now has been by and large extremely religious. Religion has played a great cultural role. And most Americans have identified as one way or the other religious.
Yeah.
And in a place like Denmark, secularization, and I now sort of define it implicitly with regard to what I said, has, despite the fact that we have still 80-something% of the population paying members of the Lutheran Protestant Church, religion doesn't matter that much, or up to the past 25 years, visibly in the Danish society and in Danish politics, as it has in the United States. And now we had my very famous sort of Supreme Court case, I think it was called Schempp versus something in United States, that paved the way for establishing religious studies departments, etc. And you have also Supreme Court announcements paving the way for the possibility that you could have teaching about religions in public schools, if it is neutral, impartial, informative, etc., and not confessional, not religious. But still, it has not happened in the United States. The American Academy of Religion tries to promote something like it, but it's very, very difficult. Equally difficult as it is, for instance, in Iran. And I normally have a little fun saying that there are some very sort of spectacular similarities between a country like Iran and then a country like the United States, despite the one has this constitution separating religion and state, right? And the other one has a constitution closely linked to the majority religion of Islam. But still, there are similarities, and you don't have a non-confessional religion education in Iran. You have some scholars who may try to do something like an academic study of religion, but it's difficult, right? And the whole framework is different. When it comes to religion education, many places, most places in the world, you don't have it. It's even something that states or governments, educationalists cannot imagine. I just came from COPER in Slovenia, where we discussed the notion of religious literacy, or whether politicians could whether that notion, which is very problematic, has been criticized heavily, whether it could be helpful in persuading politicians to introduce in public schools in Slovenia religion education based on the study of religion, because there are very good reasons for doing so. It has not happened. You also have churches, you have the Catholic Church, you have Protestant churches, you have Islam, you have everything opposing things like that, because a lot of people cannot get into their heads that you can deal with religion in a non-religious way. They just cannot figure it out. And lots of states, furthermore, want to use the schools to socialize, indoctrinate, you could also say, future citizens. And that socialization and indoctrination often has as one of its elements teaching into the dominant religion of the country, having the pupils not studying religion critically, but having the pupils apprehend a religion so that they follow in the footsteps of their parents, who followed in the footsteps of their parents because they had the religious education in the church, in the mosque, but also in the school and in the public at large. And those places, it's very difficult to see the point of having a critical, analytical study of religion-based religion education in schools. I think that it should be a must, but it's difficult. So it's even in Europe. I just mentioned Slovenia, but you don't have it in Germany. Do you have it in Poland? No, you don't have it in Poland. No. Particularly not because the heavy Catholic influence, but also because of the past communist anti-religious influence. Yeah. In Spain, it's the same combination. You have the Catholic Church. You have the ideas that religion is something to do with Being religious is not something you study. And then you have, on the other hand, also social democrats or socialists who cannot think of religion in neutral terms, who can only think of religion as the enemy, as something we have to get rid of. So either you have pro-religion or you have anti-religion. And the study of religion is neither pro nor anti. It's trying to be impartial, neutral, informative, empirically based study of religion. And it's very, very difficult to figure out. So I have in one of my articles, and I have written about trying to promote this in 20, 25, 35 years, you were right, in articles, I've said that it should be one of the criteria for what we call a secular state, to see if the secular state, in order to be named a secular state, can look at religion in such a way that they can see the benefit of having a non-religious religion educations in public schools. I think that should be one of the criteria, not just that they are sort of dealing with all religions in an equal manner, or that they are not having an established religion, that they are not discriminating people because of their religion, that there is freedom of religion. It should also be so that there is a study of religions-based religion education in public schools. And why should it be there? Let me again sort of take a break and not sort of speak, but read something for you, because I think that sometimes, you know, when you talk as much as I do now, it becomes less precise. And I like this to be a little bit precise. So let me read from hopefully my last article on religion education, because I'm sick and tired of writing about it. And, you know, when we had this meeting in Coper, I once again said, I've been trying to promote this for 35 years and see where we are. I mean, it's good in Denmark. We have some progress in Denmark. We have some progress in Germany. We may have some progress in Italy. We may have some progress in Spain. But most of the places, there is no progress at all. So it's uphill, uphill, uphill. And now I think that I have come to the point where I've said what can be said, and I should not do anymore. But let me say this, coming back also to your question about what the study of religion is. I call it programmatic fundamentals, and my approach to this has been called by an Australian colleague Jensen's scientific approach to religion education in schools. 1. Religion is a human, cultural, social, and historical phenomenon. And 2, granted that scientifically based knowledge of humankind, history, evolution included, nature, culture, social formation, identity formation, etc., is considered essential and valuable knowledge, then scientifically based knowledge of religion or religions must be considered equally essential and valuable. 3. Religion or religions can, like other historical, social, and cultural phenomena, be scientifically researched, analyzed, interpreted, and explained. And this is important, the scientific research results can be translated into teaching at both the university and public schools levels. You can teach about it. You can write textbooks written by of religion. We have done that in Denmark. Armin Gertz, Tim Jensen, Jeppe Sinding, Marianne Kvartrup-Fibiger. We have all written textbooks for school religion education. You can translate it. The production of valuable scientifically based knowledge of religions leading to more and more qualified knowledge of humankind, history, evolution, culture, can and must engage a variety of scholars from the natural, social, and human sciences. However, specialist knowledge of religions and religion as such has for more than a century been pursued by scholars at specific university departments for the study of religions. These departments are still a sine qua non for a concerted and strategic scientific study of religion. And I know that I'm not in agreement with all very important scholars of religion within sort of critical religion or critical approaches to religion when it comes to this. I see the points of not having specific departments of trans and cross disciplinarity, etc. I can see also that there might be some heritage, theological heritage clinging to it, but I still think that we have over the past 100 years developed some kind of knowledge, some kind of skills, some kind of competences within the departments for the study of religion, whether it's the Jagiellonian or in the University of Southern Denmark or Copenhagen or Leibniz or, name them all, Bergen, Alabama, that should not be thrown away. We have treasures of critical scholarship where we have focused on the research history of study of religion, where we have read all the big names, where we have discussed all the theories. So I think we have a reservoir of critical approaches and empirical material that should not be thrown away. So I think the departments for the study of religion are still sort of a sine qua non for a concerted and strategic scientific study of religion. And I recognize that we don't have them all over the world, which is some of the challenges faced by the IHR when we are sort of moving around the world. But we have scholars doing study of religions in other departments around the world. If scientifically produced knowledge of humankind, etc., including religion, is considered to be of scientific and cultural value and therefore to be funded by the state, then, this is my argument, this state-funded research and knowledge must be shared with the public at large. This is in the Danish sort of law for universities. Scholars and universities have to share their knowledge with the public at large. And I'll come back to this. You remember to ask me questions about the scholar of religion as a public figure. But it's a dangerous business to share it with the public at large, because then you move into politics. So there are lots of risks involved in that. So I think that when the state wants to and needs to and must share with society at large, it should do so by way of ensuring that public school education reflects and transmits the knowledge produced at the public universities. I'm not talking about private universities, private schools. I'm talking about the public state-funded, state-run schools. Though knowledge of religions can and must be sought and produced by a series of sciences and also taught and touched upon in school subjects such as history, literature, social sciences, etc., then I think also a specific timetable, compulsory and totally normal school subject, study of religions-based religion education, RE, taught by teachers educated at the study of religions departments must be established. So in Jagiellonian University, the Study of Religions Institute should also educate teachers for upper secondary school and primary school in Poland to teach about religion. In Denmark, it has been so with regard to the upper secondary school since 1914 or 16 or 12 or something. We have a long tradition. That also gives an income, and it sort of strengthens the study of religions departments, because we always have some students, because we always have to produce some teachers. So it creates sort of a very good environment also for the scientific study of religion as research. But there is this link between research and teaching scholars who are then going to become teachers. I think that this is one of the main roles of the scholar of religion also, and I agree with Ross McCutcheon in this, to sort of share with the public at large by way of sharing with his or her students. But I also think that it would be extremely good if you share with students who are going to become teachers for upper secondary school or primary school religion education. So I think that we need to have that in place. Only by way of this can the state ensure that teaching about religions in school is as scientifically based as is the teaching of other school subjects. And this is something I also argue. You think that you can sometimes have people come in the door and teach about religion in history or in literature or in arts or whatever. No, they have to have a specific training to teach about religion. They just cannot do that. And France is the most evident example of this. And this is what the Frenchmen have realized, that you have to have a specific educational background to teach about religion, even if you do so within the framework of history or arts or literature. And that can only be provided by scholars of religion at the universities. I don't see where it could come from out there. And I think that, looking at this idea that religion is something everybody knows a little bit about because they have been religious, or it's like the weather, it's nonsense. You need to have scientifically based knowledge. You would never have a teacher teach biology or history in school if he or she had not been trained to do so at the university. Why so different with religion? Religion is a normal human social phenomenon. Anyway, by providing a scientific study of religion at public universities and in public schools, a state sort of funded thing, the state moreover provides for a second order or third order analytical critical discourse on religion that may arguably be seen as crucial. And this is my extra scientific sort of mission, be crucial to the well-being and well-functioning of an open, secular, not secularistic, not secularist, anti-religious, pluralist and democratic society. And I admit this openly. I have an extra scientific agenda, and I've had that for many, many years. I think the scientific study of religion ought to be a must in a secular, open, democratic, and pluralist society. And I think the state should provide for the departments, the studying at universities, but also in schools. It's a sine qua non for a pluralist, democratic, open society. Moreover, religion education in schools can help provide citizens at large with what I call Allgemeinbildung, with a German term, or general education, as well as with analytical and communicative competences needed for the skilled execution of various professions in today's society and world. We need citizens who are enlightened. We need citizens who are enlightened also with regard to religion. We need citizens who can analytically, critically dissect, deconstruct what politicians say about religion, what they say about the Catholic Church, what they say about minority religions or so-called sects, what they say about Muslims. We need somebody who can look through the stereotypes, the prejudice, the sort of insider jargon. These citizens can only one day, one brilliant day, be sort of there if they also know something about study of religion's approaches to religion. And I think this is crucial. It's not so that I think the study of religions-based religion education can save the world. It's not a save the world project I'm in. But I think that it can contribute to what I think science in general contributes to, is to build an enlightened society, to have politicians and others make informed decisions. We should not interfere in politics, but we should give them the chance to have the information they need to make informed decisions, and not decisions based on ignorance. This is as far as I want to go in terms of politicizing the scientific study of religion. That is to produce knowledge that can be used to make informed decisions in a democratic, open society that does not only claim its religious heritage and roots, but also its enlightenment heritage and roots. So that's it. And I really think that it can be done. And I think that in Denmark and Sweden and partially in Norway and other places, we have proved that it can be done. And I can assure you that, as I said, it's going to be great fun to have people in Kraków. They're going to have fun listening to papers. I know from 15 years teaching in in upper secondary school as a religion teacher before I came to the university, that students at the age of 16 to 19 are fascinated by a study of religions-based religion education. They are not sitting there to become religious. They are not sitting there to nurse their souls or to simply find their identity or become Buddhists or whatever. They can be attracted by all that also, just like you can be by reading a good novel or so. So all the religious texts are fascinating, whether it's a Quran or the Bible or Bhagavad Gita, etc. They can be inspired. That's it. But they are mainly fascinated because they get to know more about the mechanisms of the world out there. Politics, social formation, what does it all mean? They are sort of interested in sociology in a way, in history, more than in their own souls. And this is what we can sort of contribute with, and they like it. So it's a big success.
Tim, Uh, our time is out. I only want to add one thing because I feel this important. I completely agree with you that only knowledge can give us a chance for a freedom, not automatically freedom, but chance for a freedom to take independent decision. Tim, it was real privilege to discuss with you. Thank you very much for this insightful conversation. I didn't ask you a question which I had prepared, but I hope someday we find opportunity to maybe prepare next similar discussion and maybe some things we can discuss much more. And I'm sure this material will be important also for future religious studies researchers, scholars, as a kind of testimony of social role of the religious studies. Tim, I'm happy to see you in Krakow, but I see you want to say something here.
Pavel, can you give me 5 more minutes?
Obviously, I can give you even much more. Let's go.
It's just I have tried not to sort of talk too much about IHR business or IHR challenges, etc., because I have written so much about it. And you can find in this Newman the introductory article here where I say something about the way in which the debates about the name of the IHR, whether it should be International Association for the History of Religions or Study of Religion, Scientific Study of Religion, how that is linked to discussions about challenges linked to the expansion of the IHR. It started out as a mainly European thing, right? But already in the early 50s, it started to expand and it started to become truly international. And now you call it global, right? So there has been a constant globalization process. And that has been said by some scholars, for instance, Professor Don Wiebe and also others sort of indirectly, to constitute a challenge to the kind of study of religions promoted by the IHR, as this has been sort of staked out, for instance, in the so-called Pavlovsky statement issued in Marburg in 1960. And I'm not going to quote that, I'm just mentioning it. And it's sort of saying that the IHR has a specific raison d'etre, namely to promote the Religionswissenschaft in a strict sense, not to sort of do applied studies of religion, not to save the world, not to have all these extra scientific perspectives, and also not to include theological or religious perspectives, right? And that has been something that has been sort of a discussion time and again it has come up. Most recently, Don Wiebe has raised it after an IHR special meeting in Delphi that I called for in 2019, together with the IHR leadership, where we wanted to take stock of the situation. Has the IHR been good enough to hold on to these sort of, let's call it Pavlovsky principles, at the same time as it has globalized? Has it been sufficiently critical when it adopted new member associations, etc.?
Mm-hmm.
Has it done enough in order to make sure that its congresses and conferences did not have papers at too much variance with these principles?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot have people there who are promoting religion, who are thinking that they can speak with scholars just because they are witches or whatever, right? That doesn't give them a right. So, or monks or nuns, etc. But we move around. I have been in Vietnam when we were hosted by a Buddhist university place, and half of the audience were Buddhist monks who knew zero about the study of religion. How do we deal with this? We have places where you don't have the study of religions in place. We are moving around in a world where you have scholars who are, for good reasons, trying to sort of still decolonialize, who have a decolonializing agenda, who wants to decolonialize the study of religions because they consider still sort of this academic study of religion that I promote another kind of colonialism. Now it's not just a question of power, it's a question of knowledge. It's a question of epistemologies, right? So quite a lot of people out there are actively trying to promote another kind of study of religion, and they should also be heard. They should also have, as long as they can articulate themselves in scientific terms, to be listened to. And we have to engage with these challenges in a qualified way. And fortunately, we have many scholars who do so. I just want to mention this Religious Studies, A Global View by Greg Ellis, where he also discusses it and where he also looks for a global view and where he wants to listen to all of these voices from all over the world, but where he, just like me, would say there is a line of demarcation. We have this kind of scientific approach to the study of religion. We are not going to abandon it. You have this book also by one of my colleagues in Denmark, Decolonializing the Study of Religion, where he ends up with the same conclusion. Yes, we have to listen, but we cannot sort of take it all in. And then you have the now nominated Andrea Rota, who is nominated as Secretary General of the IHR, who has also discussed this and said that no, we cannot sort of adopt these colonialist approaches because it will be the end to the kind of study of religion that the IHR promotes. And here I just want to end with this, because we have the theme in Kraków called Out of Europe.
Yeah.
And that theme is the theme, and I can reveal that now for the first time, I think openly, is coming from my desk, so to speak. It's my suggestion, because I have seen in Erfurt 2015, when we published this, before that in Delphi, decades before that, 30, 40, 50 years, we have discussed this globalization thing within the IHR. Michael Pye, a very, very important person for the IHR, he was the one who put globalization to work, so to speak. But Michael Pye also, for instance, in Durban 2000, said that each and every time we expand, we have to also tighten up the academic scientific profile and make sure that there is no doubt about it. We are not in the business of doing religious studies. We are not in the business of promoting human rights or whatever it is. He has said that time and again. And I think that I have tried to say it time and again. We had a conference in Tokyo in December about the notion of science and science now that we are globalizing. So it's a constant theme. And it has sort of been with me ever since also the beginnings of the European associations. Could the establishment of the European Association be seen as a reaction to globalization, as European scholars saying, we are afraid that we are losing our power? Our epistemologies are being killed by all of these native or indigenous epistemologies that are mainly, in a way, religious, activist, etc. So we are here to defend the threat to our epistemological framework. I don't think it was like that. It was established by the IHI. It was established by Michael Pye. No. And I don't think most scholars of religion go around the world trying to produce knowledge that is going to kill indigenous knowledge. That's not our aim. But I think that the IHR does have a specific role to play. It has a specific raison d'etre. It's a learned society, and people around the world, associations around the world, scholars, they can decide for themselves whether they want to become a member to the IHR and subscribe to that kind of vision of an international, global, universal study of religion that the IHR promotes. If they don't, then they cannot they don't have to become a member. They are not forced to it. And if they come into the IHR and discover this is not something for us, they can exit. And I think that we have, as a learned society, a specific raison d'etre that we have to guard. Now, in Kraków, we have this theme, Out of Europe. I think that it was necessary to have this theme because if we are a scientific community of scholars, we cannot close the doors to all of these discussions out there. We have to face them. We have to discuss them seriously. We have to take people, members, serious and discuss all the time whether our scientific approach is good enough or bad for what reasons, good for what reasons, etc. But the IHR also has to discuss whether it wants to change its profile, wants to do something new. I don't want to. And I'm not in the business of praying, but I hope that we will have a future in the IHR that is also in line with the Fablovsky statement, even if it has been updated in methodological different modern terms. And I hope that the Kraków Congress, with its business meetings, etc., but also with its academic program, will not only have this discussion about scholarly things, but also have discussions about the future and the past and the present of the IHR, which will be in line with what I consider the primary mission of the IHR. So I look forward to all these discussions, and I truly hope that there will be an IHR in the future, which still has a constitution saying in Article 1 that it's not a forum for confessional, apologetical, or any similar concerns. And we have produced sort of now guidelines that are explicating this. They are at the website, and we have made it a must for all conferences of the IHR to see to it that papers presented must be in line with this Article 1. And I think that means that when I step down, and I step down in Kraków, I was born in 1950, the same year as the IHR. I was there when the EASR was established. I've been in this business for 25 years. So it's also my anniversary. And I stepped down. And the kind of anniversary present I want is to see that the papers presented in Kraków are in line with these principles of the IHR. And then I really want to see also a future IHR that can play this role in the world. So those are my humble visions and hopes for Kraków also. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you one more time for your message, and one more time for whole conversation. So thank you very much, and I'm waiting to see you not online but in real place in Kraków. We invite to this Congress, and see you soon.
See you.